Alright, YouTube, we're back, of course, talking some Final Fantasy IX. We're here to talk about the remake, of course, but a bit of a different video than what we normally do. Generally, with the games that we talk about on the channel, we try to cover any kind of substantial like information, rumors, leaks, whatever the fuck we can, regardless of whether that's FF7 related, FF9 related, whatever. But when we can, we like to kind of debunk stuff too. What we have here is Square Enix posted on multiple social medias. I know for sure Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. A quote from Final Fantasy IX and some images from FF9. People will think that that's them teasing the 9 remake for some reason. Now on Twitter, for whatever reason, they only posted the quote, which is "My memories will be part of the sky," which is a quote from the character of Vivi in FF9. But if you go to some of their other social medias, you can see they posted the quote with images. Almost all of them contain a picture of Vivi, but not all of them do. One of them is just whenever Zidane and Blank are like doing a little fight at the beginning of the game, and then the other images, which is Garnet and then Garnet and Zidane, but most of them are Vivi related. And if you can believe it, that's really all it is. It's just, you know, their social media posting images from FF9, a quote from FF9, and to a lot of people out there, that's them teasing the 9 remake, which I find to be a bit weird, just because, for one, they post shit from all the Final Fantasy games all the time. You know, anniversaries, character birthdays, and just in general, they'll post stuff about, you know, any general Final Fantasy kind of randomly. But regardless of that, there is multiple articles written about this, one from Insider Gaming, one from comicbook.com. I imagine there's a pretty decent handful of, you know, posts on Reddit about this. I've seen tweets about it. And I think it's a bit much, which is saying a lot coming from me, because you guys know I grab onto anything I can in regards to the 7 remake, 9 remake, whatever we talk about on the channel. Like, I try to look for every little bit of info I can all the time, right? And I think it's people are just kind of reaching a bit, and seem to be forgetting, for one, that it's the 25th anniversary year for FF9, so regardless of the 9 remake, even if that did not exist, they'd be talking about FF9 throughout the year more than normally would, because it's 25th anniversary year. Let's not forget that they dropped a website dedicated to Final Fantasy IX's 25th anniversary that they're going to be using, I guess, throughout the year to some degree, right? So, like, again, if the 9 remake didn't even exist, they would still be talking about 9 more than normal. And actually, speaking of the 25th anniversary website, if you guys remember, we did a video about that a little while ago, and we looked at kind of all the stuff that was on there, and there's a picture book coming out for the character of Vivi that's like a prequel, you know, taking place right before the events of FF9. And they actually dropped some key art for it, which is pretty cool. It's really just an expanded version of the image we already had for the, I guess maybe the cover of the book or something. But I did see pointed out on Twitter, and I didn't notice it at first glance, that his grandfather, Quan, is in the clouds on the left, which is pretty cool. Nice little detail. When it comes to people kind of hyping up these social media posts, I don't know if they're taking the caption on the post out of context, because it says, "If you know," with like a crying emoji, right? And I think people are like looking at that as them alluding to the 9 remake. Like, if you know about the 9 remake, if you know it exists, right? Like, if you know, that type of thing. When in reality, I think it's just them talking about like the sadness of the character of Vivi and his story and shit, which is clearly what they're doing. Vivi has potentially the most tragic story in the game. He's definitely the character that resonates most with a lot of players. You can make an argument for a lot of characters having tragic stories when it comes to FF9, the Black Mages, the Genomes as well from Terra, specifically Zidane and Kuja have like tragedy in their stories, right? And I personally think that's all they're alluding to with the caption that's on the social media post of the "If you know, you know." It's a quote from Vivi and showing a lot of pictures of the character of Vivi, right? That's what I all think it is. I don't know where people derived 9 remake stuff from this exactly. I think that they could be leaning into the 9 remake stuff with like their social media posts to a certain degree. Yeah, again, they're going to be talking about 9 a lot more throughout the year, regardless of the 9 remake. But they're very aware that people think the 9 remake exists. Obviously, we're aware that it does, based on like leaks and the insiders and shit. And they've addressed it themselves a little bit with like Naoki Yoshida during like Final Fantasy XIV live streams and shit. He's addressed it, I think, at least twice. So like Square Enix themselves are aware that people are aware of the 9 remake. So I'm sure they know that anytime they post something FF9 related, there'll be people in the replies saying, "Reveal the 9 remake, show the 9 remake already," that type of shit, right? So I think they could be leaning into it a bit. Maybe they're going to post, you know, even more FF9 than they normally would, even outside of the anniversary, right? Just because they know they can kind of, for lack of a better term, comment for them, right? What's kind of weird to me too is like, for some people out there, like them posting this quote from the character of Vivi is like the biggest confirmation of the 9 remake so far for them, and I find that to be strange. Like this right here's the top comment on the Reddit post that I showed earlier in the video. They say, "I keep telling myself to ignore all these rumors and not get excited, but then Square goes and posts something like that. It seems pretty on the nose," but then they followed up with, "But knowing them, they'll probably just announce some new FF9 plushies or something." So I find that kind of confusing, right? Like, why would this social media post of them just, you know, screenshotting a quote from the character Vivi in the game, and then a caption of "If you know, you know," be the most like substantial piece of evidence for the 9 remake? Kind of ignoring, I guess, the fucking NVIDIA leak that happened years ago, right? That There's a plethora of things on the NVIDIA leak that have come true. Pretty much everything for the most part that I'm aware of. The only thing that hasn't come out from like Square Enix's side of stuff is the Tactics Remaster and the 9 Remake. But like, there's other Square Enix projects on that leak, if I'm not mistaken. It's been a long time since I've looked at it, that have come out. And obviously there's been a ton of other games that were leaked with that NVIDIA leak that have come to fruition as years have gone on. That person saying that their social media post is pretty on the nose in regards to the 9 Remake is why I think people are kind of maybe spinning the caption in a different direction as opposed to just acknowledging like the sadness of maybe FF9 in general, but maybe the character of Vivi specifically. Because what exactly about the social media post itself, especially if we're just looking at the Twitter one, which is just the quote 9 many pictures, is on the nose in regards to the 9 Remake? What at all? Anything? Please, I would love for somebody to enlighten me. Because I'm legitimately confused here why like everybody hopped on this as like some sort of evidence or proof of the 9 Remake, right? Like there's been other shit in the past. We talked very recently about somebody kind of getting the name right potentially for the 9 Remake. Like that to me is like substantial information. I don't get this. Like if I thought that this was something in regards to the 9 Remake, we'd have made a video about it like a day or two ago when it happened, right? Like we'd have hopped on that shit in the first like hour or two if there was something substantial for the 9 Remake. Here I am instead making a video like a day or so later, kind of confused about like the hype around this. Like this to me is not substantial at all in regards to the 9 Remake. I don't think it's like anything at all in regards to the 9 Remake. Like if the caption on the social media post simply had a winking face instead of like a crying face, you could make an argument there. You could be like, okay, and it seems a little tongue-in-cheek, a little nudge, like if you know, you know, right? The 9 Remake exists, that sort of thing. But it's not that. It's a crying face. It's a sad face because Vivi is a tragic goddamn character. Did you play FF9? Did anybody that's hyping up the 9 Remake, besides myself, play Final Fantasy IX? Like I feel like anybody that has just like any like base level knowledge of FF9 would understand that this is just kind of referencing shit from the game. It'd be like posting a picture of Teases and Yuna from 10 and saying, if you know, you know, with a sad face, because there's a tragic thing there with like the end of the game, right? Also, you could post a picture of like Aerith. Just post a picture of Aerith and say, if you know, you know, with the sad face, referencing, of course, her death. Like, my God. It's just simple shit. Basic stuff. I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm getting so passionate and heated about this. It's just so weird. I feel like there's other things, other more relevant things to get hyped about in regards to the 9 Remake, and this just, like, is nothing. Also, really quickly, speaking of the NVIDIA thing from earlier, like, almost every time we talk about the 9 Remake, I get at least one comment on the video of somebody, you know, talking about, I can't believe people are still talking about the 9 Remake, still hyped for this, or setting themselves up for disappointment. It's like, what are we talking about? Like, almost everything from the NVIDIA leak has been real, right? Just about everything. There's like fucking like, I don't know, like 80,000, 180,000 or some shit. A lot of games that were on the list, right? I can't say that every single thing has come true as time's gone on. But the most relevant things have generally, you know, been released or revealed eventually, right? Except for these. And besides the NVIDIA leak, which is still a very substantial thing, we've had, again, as I mentioned, like every time we talk about this shit, pretty much every relevant insider, leaker, whatever, confirming the existence of the Tactics Remaster and the 9 Remake. And we're all just kind of waiting for it to be officially revealed at some point. I'm not really sure why, like, Joe Schmo random commenters, like, thinks they know more about what's going on behind the scenes of game development and shit than other people that are, like, that have careers off this shit, journalists, insiders, leakers, things like that, right? Like, it's just strange to me. I mean, outside of it being officially announced or revealed by Square Enix themselves, every single goddamn thing out there points to it being real. Now, are we impatient at this point because it's yet to be revealed? Of course. I'm getting frustrated myself. I'm getting very frustrated. Maybe that's where some of the hype surrounding this like social media post comes from, is just like, it's been almost 4 years since the leak happened, right? I think people are just like kind of grasping onto anything they can, I would suppose. And maybe just seeing them acknowledge FF9 at all. And people are like, the 9 Remake's real. It's finally been confirmed. Or something. I don't know. You guys have certainly seen me lose my mind a few times in videos over them not revealing the 9 Remake. I'm there with you, of course. But I think people need to keep the hype in check. And there's more important things to look at if you're looking for some acknowledgement of the 9 Remake. And I just think that this social media post, or these social media posts, aren't it. Anyways, that's the video. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. There's homework in the description below. Follow me on Twitter, @YT. That's it. Bye.
Used to care what people thought, but now I care more. And nobody out here's got it figured out. So therefore, I've lost all hope of a happy ending, depending on whether or not it's worth it. So insecure, no one's perfect. We spend it with no shame. We blow that like Coltrane. We in here like Rogaine, or leave it like Cobain.